My name is Rebecca Thompson, and at 35, I was the CEO of Thompson Jewelers, a luxury brand worth hundreds of millions, built on the legacy of my family's empire in New York City. I had everything: a penthouse overlooking Central Park, a wardrobe filled with designer labels, and a husband who looked at me like I was the center of his universe. Michael Hayes was 38, tall with broad shoulders, dark brown hair that he kept neatly trimmed, and piercing blue eyes that softened whenever he smiled at me. We met 5 years ago at a charity gala. He was a quiet architect from a modest background, nothing like the flashy executives I usually dated. But his genuine kindness won me over. We married in a lavish ceremony at the Plaza Hotel, vowing eternal love in front of 300 guests. Our life together was a blend of my high society world and his simple pleasures. Michael preferred quiet evenings at home, cooking pasta in our state-of-the-art kitchen or walking our golden retriever Max in the park. I thrived on the glamour, red carpet events, launching new collections like our signature Eternal necklace, a $500,000 piece studded with flawless diamonds symbolizing unbreakable love. I wore it to our 3rd anniversary party, beaming as photographers snapped away. "This is for you, Michael," I said in my speech, "proof that my love for you is forever." But forever is a fragile word. For the past year, I'd been entangled in an affair with William Brooks, a 28-year-old social media influencer with chiseled features, sun-kissed blonde hair, and a mischievous grin that made my heart race. William was everything Michael wasn't: adventurous, impulsive, always chasing the next thrill. It started innocently, a collaboration for my jewelry line where he promoted our pieces to his millions of followers. One late-night shoot led to drinks, then more. I told myself it was harmless excitement, a break from the routine of marriage. Michael trusted me completely. He'd never suspect. On our anniversary night, I skipped our planned dinner to meet William at a rooftop bar in Manhattan. "You're mine tonight," William whispered, his hand on my thigh under the table. Guilt gnawed at me, but the adrenaline drowned it out. I rushed home late, fabricating a story about a last-minute business meeting. Michael was waiting with a bottle of our favorite Cabernet, his eyes tired but forgiving. "I understand, Becca. Work comes first sometimes." I handed him a wrapped box, the Eternal necklace, customized for him as a pendant. "Open it in 2 weeks," I said mysteriously. "It'll mean more then." He kissed me, and for a moment, I believed I could have it all. The next morning, my phone buzzed with a message from an anonymous service. "Mr. Hayes, all records at your residence have been erased. This process will take effect in 2 weeks. Handle your affairs accordingly. This decision is irreversible." I stared at it, confused, thinking it was spam. Michael was in the shower, humming an old tune. Little did I know, that was the beginning of the end. As days passed, I juggled my double life. William grew bolder, texting me during meetings. "Can't wait to see you tonight. Wear the red dress." I'd sneak out, leaving Michael with excuses about client dinners. He never questioned me, his trust unwavering. One evening, after a passionate rendezvous in William's loft, I returned home to find Michael packing a small bag. "What's this?" I asked, heart pounding. "Just a quick trip for work," he lied smoothly, but his blue eyes avoided mine. That night, he made love to me with a tenderness that felt like goodbye. "I love you, Becca," he murmured. "Promise you'll always be honest with me." I nodded, burying my face in his chest, the guilt twisting like a knife. 2 weeks later, on the day he was supposed to open the gift, I came home early from the office. The apartment was eerily quiet. Max whined at the door, and Michael's closet was half empty. On the kitchen counter lay the unopened box and a note. "I know everything. Goodbye, Rebecca." My world shattered. I called his phone, disconnected. His office said he'd resigned weeks ago. Panic set in as I realized the anonymous message was real. Michael had erased himself from existence. I tore through our apartment, searching for clues. Michael's side of the bed was neatly made. his favorite watch gone from the nightstand. I dialed his friends, his family, nothing. "Haven't heard from him in weeks," his brother said, sounding worried. My mind raced back to the signs I'd ignored, his distant stares, the late-night phone calls he dismissed as work. How long had he known about William? Desperate, I hired a private investigator, a grizzled man named Jack with a scar across his cheek and a no-nonsense demeanor. "This ain't easy," he grumbled, puffing on a cigar. If he's gone dark, he might have used identity erasure services. Expensive, but effective. It cost me $50,000 up front, but money was no object. Thompson Jewelers was thriving. Our latest collection had netted $20 million in sales. Meanwhile, William bombarded me with messages. "Where are you? Miss you already." I ignored him, focusing on the search. Days turned into a week. Jack reported back. Michael's bank accounts were closed. His social security number flagged as inactive. "He's like a ghost," Jack said. "Last sighting was at a clinic in Brooklyn. Routine checkup. Nothing suspicious." That night, I sat alone in our king-sized bed, clutching the eternal pendant. Its diamonds mocked me, cold and unyielding. Michael's face haunted me, his strong jaw, the way his hair fell over his forehead when he laughed. How could I have betrayed him? The guilt manifested physically. Sleepless nights, lost appetite. I lost 10 pounds in a week. My once vibrant green eyes now dull with regret. William showed up at my office unannounced, his athletic build filling the doorway. "Becca, talk to me. What's going on?" I snapped. "It's over. Michael left because of us." His grin faded, replaced by a calculating look. "He'll come back. You're too good for him anyway." I shoved him out, slamming the door. The investigator dug deeper. Michael had sold his car for cash, withdrawn $100,000 from a joint account I'd forgotten about. "He's planned this," Jack said. "Probably heading west, California, maybe." I flew to LA on a whim, wandering beaches where we once vacationed, showing his photo to strangers. Tall guy, blue eyes, kind smile. No one remembered. Back in New York, the emptiness consumed me. Our anniversary photos stared from the walls, us in Hawaii, Michael's arm around my waist, both tanned and happy. I tore them down in a rage, sobbing on the floor. Max licked my face, his golden fur a small comfort. "Where is he, boy?" I whispered. A breakthrough came, a text from an unknown number. "Stop looking. It's over." My heart leaped. Was it Michael? I traced it, but it led to a burner phone. William denied sending it, but his eyes shifted. Suspicion grew. Had he confronted Michael? As the second week ended, confirmation arrived. Identity erasure complete. All support for Thompson Group withdrawn. What did that mean? My CFO called in panic. "We've lost key investors. Millions pulled overnight." Michael's quiet influence had been holding things together more than I realized. He wasn't just my husband. He'd been my silent partner. I collapsed in my office, the city skyline blurring through tears. Michael was gone, and with him, the life I'd taken for granted. With Michael's disappearance official, I threw everything into finding him. I upped the reward to $1 million, plastering his description across billboards. Missing, Michael Hayes, 6'2", brown hair, blue eyes, last seen in NYC, reward for information. The media frenzy began. Tabloids dubbed it the vanishing husband, speculating on our troubled marriage. William became a nuisance, showing up at events with his signature smirk. "Let me help," he offered, but I saw through him. At 28, he was all flash, tattoos peeking from his collar, a perpetual 5 o'clock shadow. "This is your fault," I hissed during a heated argument in my lobby. He laughed. "You came to me, Becca. Don't blame me." Ignoring him, I scoured social media, hiring hackers to trace digital footprints. Nothing. Michael's old colleagues whispered about his odd behavior in the weeks leading up. Distant, secretive. One mentioned a clinic visit. He was checking fertility, said he wanted kids but worried about health. The irony stung. We'd talked about children, but I'd delayed, focused on my career. Now, alone in our echoey penthouse, I regretted it. My reflection in the mirror showed a woman unraveling, my long auburn hair disheveled, cheekbones sharp from weight loss. A lead emerged, a sighting in Chicago. I flew there, heart racing, combing hotels. "Have you seen this man?" I'd ask, showing his photo. Michael in a suit, smiling warmly. No luck. Back home, William escalated, posting cryptic stories online. Sometimes love means letting go. Followers speculated, linking it to me. Fury boiled over. I confronted him at his gym, where he was lifting weights, sweat glistening on his toned arms. "Stay away from my life," I shouted. He dropped the barbell. "You're the one who cheated, Becca. Michael knows you're not worth it." That night, I broke down, calling my grandfather Harold Thompson, the family patriarch. At 85, with silver hair and a commanding presence, he listened patiently. "You've made a mess, girl. Fix it quietly." But I couldn't. I went public with an apology video. "Michael, if you're watching, I'm sorry. Come home." It went viral, but no response. As weeks turned to months, despair set in. The company suffered. Stock dipped 15%. Board members pressured me, "Focus on business, Rebecca." But how could I? Michael's absence was a void, his blue eyes haunting my dreams. The apology video I posted online, pouring out my regrets and begging Michael to come home, was meant to be a heartfelt plea. Instead, it exploded into a nightmare of public scrutiny. Within hours, social media erupted with hashtags like #CheatingCEO and #ForeverFail, turning my words into fodder for ridicule. Memes flooded every platform. One showed the eternal necklace crumbling into dust with the caption, "Forever? More like for a fling." Another photoshopped my face onto a soap opera villain, labeled the billionaire betrayer. Comments poured in by the thousands. "How can she sell eternal love jewelry when she can't even keep her vows?" And "Rich girl problems, cheats on hubby and cries about it." The backlash was relentless, painting me as a hypocritical ice queen who valued thrills over loyalty. Sales at Thompson Jewelers nosedived by 30% overnight, with customers boycotting our stores and returning items en masse. Investors started pulling out, spooked by the negative publicity tying my personal scandal to the brand's image of timeless romance. The board of directors called an emergency meeting the next morning in our sleek, glass-walled conference room on the 50th floor of our Manhattan headquarters. The atmosphere was tense, the air thick with the scent of fresh coffee and underlying frustration. I arrived in my sharpest tailored suit, a black Armani ensemble that felt more like a shield than clothing, trying to project confidence despite the exhaustion weighing me down. At 35, I already looked a decade older. Deep dark circles under my green eyes from sleepless nights, my auburn hair pulled back in a hasty bun, and my usually full lips pressed into a thin line of perpetual anxiety. The chairman, Mr. Harlan, a stern man in his 60s with a shiny bald head that reflected the overhead lights and a perpetual scowl etched into his face, slammed his folder on the table as soon as I sat down. "Rebecca, this personal drama of yours is sinking the ship," he barked, his voice echoing off the walls. "We've lost 3 major investors already, over $10 million withdrawn in the last 24 hours. How do you expect us to explain this to shareholders? Your little video stunt has turned our luxury brand into a punchline." I nodded numbly, my hands clasped tightly in my lap to hide their trembling. I didn't anticipate this reaction," I stammered, my voice barely above a whisper. "I thought it would show vulnerability, maybe even bring Michael back. But I see now it was a mistake." The other board members chimed in, their faces a mix of sympathy and exasperation. Ms. Lopez, our sharp-witted CFO, with her impeccable bob haircut and wire-rimmed glasses, leaned forward. "Sales projections are grim, Rebecca. Our eternal line was supposed to be our flagship this quarter, But now it's tainted. We need you focused on damage control, press releases, rebranding, not chasing ghosts." Mr. Patel, the marketing director, added, "We've got to pivot. Maybe pull the video down and issue a statement emphasizing the company's values over personal issues." The meeting dragged on for 2 hours, filled with heated debates and spreadsheets flashing on the screen, showing plummeting stock charts in glaring red. By the end, I felt hollow, like a shell of the confident CEO I'd once been. As I left the room, the weight of their words pressed on me. How could I focus on business when Michael's absence was a gaping void in my life? His piercing blue eyes haunted my every thought, a constant reminder of the trust I'd shattered. Mirrors in the executive bathroom confirmed my deterioration, a once vibrant woman now pale and drawn, her reflection screaming regret. The company's stock had already dipped another 15% by lunchtime, and whispers in the hallways suggested more departures were coming. Desperation led me to auction off the eternal necklace itself, hoping to turn the negativity into something positive. It fetched $450,000 at a high-profile event, with proceeds going to marriage counseling charities, a bitter irony that didn't escape the press. "From betrayal to benevolence," one headline mocked. William, sensing the chaos, capitalized on it by posting vague stories on his social media. Some secrets are better left buried. His followers speculated wildly, linking it directly to me, which only fueled the fire. I filed a defamation lawsuit against him, winning a quick $100,000 settlement, but the victory felt empty. He couldn't even pay it without borrowing. One evening, fueled by rage and a glass of scotch, I confronted William at his gym in Brooklyn. He was midway through a workout, sweat dripping down his chiseled, athletic build, his blonde hair matted and his mischievous grin fading as he saw me approach. "This is all your fault," I hissed, my voice low but venomous. "Your taunts, your games, you pushed Michael away." He dropped the dumbbell with a clang, wiping his face with a towel. "Me? You came running to me, Becca. Admit it. You wanted the excitement. Michael was too boring for a powerhouse like you." We argued in hushed tones amid the clank of weights, his eyes shifting nervously as gym-goers glanced our way. "Just leave me alone," he finally snapped. "You're the one who blew up your life." In a moment of blind fury, I signaled my security detail outside, and they roughed him up. Not something I'm proud of, but the satisfaction was fleeting. He ended up in the hospital with a broken arm and bruises, his once charming face swollen and bandaged. The press spun the incident as my vindictive revenge, with headlines screaming, "CEO's assault on ex-lover." Public opinion plummeted further, and our stock took another hit. Grandfather Harold flew in from his estate in the Hamptons, his silver hair neatly combed and his cane tapping angrily on the marble floor as he entered my office, his wrinkled face set in disapproval. "What the hell are you doing, Becca?" he thundered, slamming his fist on my desk. "This isn't just about you. It's the family legacy. Your grandfather built this from nothing, and you're letting a scandal tear it apart." We argued for over an hour, him pacing slowly with his cane while I defended my actions through tears. "I need Michael back, Grandpa. The company means nothing without him." He softened slightly, placing a gnarled hand on my shoulder. "Then fix this quietly. No more public spectacles." But the revelations kept coming. My CFO burst into my office later that day, her face pale. "Rebecca, we've uncovered something huge. Michael wasn't just your husband. He was our silent backer. He funneled investments through anonymous channels, propping us up during tough quarters. Now that support's withdrawn, we're hemorrhaging cash." The news hit like a punch. Millions pulled overnight, deals falling through. Michael's quiet influence had been the glue holding everything together, and I'd never even known the full extent. I collapsed into my leather chair, the panoramic view of the New York skyline blurring through a veil of tears. The empire I'd inherited, the life of luxury I'd chased, it all felt meaningless now. Michael was truly gone, and with him, the foundation of everything I held dear. The corporate fallout wasn't just numbers on a screen, it was the unraveling of my world, one humiliating headline at a time. The news of William's hospitalization exploded across every tabloid and social media feed, turning my already chaotic life into a full-blown spectacle. Headlines screamed things like, "Jealous CEO's revenge," "Influencer brutally attacked by ex-lover," and "Thompson heiress goes too far, boycott her empire." William, ever the opportunist, went live from his hospital bed, propped up against pillows with his left arm in a white sling and bruises blooming across his cheek. His usually perfect blonde hair was messy, and his green eyes gleamed with a mix of pain and calculated drama. "She couldn't handle the truth about her own mistakes," he whined to his millions of followers, his voice cracking for effect. Rebecca Thompson sent her goons after me because I exposed her double life. This isn't justice, it's abuse from a woman who thinks her money makes her untouchable. Public opinion swung viciously against me. Online petitions to boycott Thompson Jewelers gathered thousands of signatures overnight, with commenters calling me a vindictive witch and a hypocrite who preaches eternal love while destroying lives. Sales dipped another 5% in just 48 hours, and my PR team worked around the clock to contain the damage. I felt the weight of it all pressing down, my chest tight with a mix of regret and fury. How had I let this reckless affair spiral so far? I couldn't let his lies stand unchallenged. Digging through old messages on my phone, I compiled a dossier of evidence, screenshots of William's taunting texts to Michael, sent weeks before my husband vanished. One read, "Hey man, who's more important to her now, you or me? She's been sneaking out every night, face it, she's chosen." Another was even crueler. "She tells me you're boring. Time to step aside." I leaked them anonymously to a trusted journalist, and the story flipped. Headlines shifted to, "Influencers harassment exposed, taunts drove husband away." The backlash against William grew, with his followers unfollowing in droves. But the harm to my reputation lingered like a stubborn stain. Desperate for resources to continue the search, I turned to pawning my personal assets. It started with the yacht, a sleek 80-footer I'd bought on a whim 3 years ago, now fetching $2 million at a discreet auction in Miami. Next went my art collection, a Picasso sketch and a Warhol print that together brought in another $1.5 million. Each sale felt like shedding pieces of my old life, the auctioneer's gavel echoing my growing isolation. The money funded more investigators, but the emotional toll was immense. I'd stare at the empty walls of my penthouse, remembering how Michael and I had chosen those pieces together during happier times. My digging paid off when a hacker I hired uncovered deleted voicemails from William's phone. One was a recording of him confronting Michael at a coffee shop near our apartment, just days before the disappearance. "She loves me more, buddy," William's voice sneered in the audio. "You're just the safe choice. Becca's wild side is all mine now. Admit it, and bow out gracefully." Michael's response was calm, but pained. "If that's true, she'll tell me herself. Stay away from us." Hearing it fueled a white-hot rage. This wasn't just an affair. It was sabotage. I pressed charges for harassment and stalking. The arrest was swift. Police hauled William from his gym mid-workout, his athletic build no match for the cuffs. In court a month later, he stood before the judge looking utterly defeated. Blonde hair unkempt and greasy, designer clothes rumpled, his cocky grin replaced by a defeated slump. "I thought we had something real," he muttered during his testimony, avoiding my gaze. She led me on. The judge wasn't swayed, sentencing him to 2 years probation and a restraining order. William vanished from social media after that, his influencer career in tatters, but the victory felt hollow without Michael. Still, my husband remained a ghost. A promising tip sent me to Miami. A witness claimed to have seen a man matching his description, tall with brown hair and blue eyes, working at a beachside cafe. I flew down immediately, heart pounding as I wandered the sun-drenched shores, the salty air reminding me of our honeymoon. We'd walked these same beaches hand in hand, Michael's tan skin glowing under the tropical sun, his laughter mixing with the waves. "Why won't you come back?" I whispered to the ocean, tears mixing with the spray. But the lead was another dead end. The man was a look-alike, friendly, but not my Michael. Back in New York, grandfather's health took a sharp decline. At our weekly family dinner in his dimly lit dining room, surrounded by antique silver and fading portraits, his frail frame shook as he coughed into a handkerchief. His eyes, once sharp, were clouded with fatigue. "Promise me you'll focus on the company, Becca," he rasped, reaching for my hand. "This search, it's consuming you. Let go for your own sake." I nodded, squeezing his fingers, but inside, my resolve hardened. "I will, Grandpa, but I can't stop until I know he's safe." He shook his head sadly. "Sometimes, love means accepting loss." His words haunted me, a stark reminder that my betrayals had cost more than just my marriage. They were eroding the family bonds I'd always taken for granted. As the months dragged on, blending into a relentless year of torment, I watched helplessly as Thompson Jewelers hovered on the brink of collapse. Our stock had plummeted to half its value, investors fleeing like rats from a sinking ship. I threw myself into work, pulling 18-hour days in the office, surrounded by stacks of financial reports and urgent emails. My once lustrous auburn hair began graying at the temples, and every time I caught my reflection in the mirrored elevators, I saw a hollow version of myself, a 36-year-old woman with sunken cheeks and green eyes that had lost their spark, shadowed by exhaustion and unending grief. The toll was physical, too. My hands trembled from too much coffee, and headaches pounded like drums in my skull. I barely ate, surviving on takeout salads that went half uneaten. Sleep was a stranger, haunted by dreams of Michael's warm embrace turning cold as he faded into shadows. "How did I let this happen?" I'd whisper to the empty penthouse at night, Max curling up at my feet as if sensing my despair. Then came what I hoped was the breakthrough, a tip from my investigator about a man matching Michael's description running a cozy bed and breakfast in a remote town in Montana. My heart raced as I boarded the plane, then rented a car for the long drive through winding mountain roads. The scenery was breathtaking, snow-capped peaks and endless pines, but I barely noticed, my mind fixed on reunion. What if it's really him, I thought, gripping the wheel until my knuckles whitened. "I'll beg for forgiveness, explain everything. We can start over." Arriving at dusk, the inn was picture perfect, a log cabin with twinkling lights, smoke curling from the chimney. A golden retriever bounded out, barking enthusiastically, so much like our Max that tears stung my eyes. I knocked, breath held. The door opened to reveal a man, tall like Michael, with similar brown hair tousled in the wind, but his eyes were hazel, not the piercing blue I knew so well. "Can I help you?" he asked kindly, his voice deeper, lacking Michael's gentle timbre. "I'm looking for someone," I stammered, showing the photo. "He looks a bit like you." The man shook his head sympathetically. "Sorry, ma'am, haven't seen him. You okay? You look like you've been through hell." I mumbled thanks and fled to my car, collapsing in sobs. Another dead end. The drive back was a blur of disappointment, the weight of failure crushing me. By the time I returned to New York, the strain proved too much. One evening, after a grueling board meeting where executives grilled me about declining profits, I blacked out in my office. I woke in a hospital bed, IV drip in my arm, monitors beeping steadily. The doctor, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and a clipboard, explained, "Severe exhaustion, dehydration, and stress-induced anxiety. You need rest, Ms. Thompson, or this could get worse." In the fog of grief, I signed the divorce papers in absentia, the lawyer's office cold and impersonal. It felt like signing away my soul, empty, final, without closure. "Are you sure?" the attorney asked, adjusting his glasses. "Once filed, it's done." "Yes," I whispered. though doubt gnawed at me. What if Michael returned? William resurfaced amid the chaos, suing for damages over the altercation with my security team. His lawyers painted him as the victim, demanding $500,000 for emotional distress and medical bills. We settled out of court for $200,000, a bitter pill I swallowed to avoid more scandal. "You got what you deserved," he texted smugly afterward, but I blocked him, done with his toxicity. Finally, alone and broken, I sold the penthouse, the symbol of our shared life, for $15 million, far below market value in my haste. Moving into a modest two-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn felt like defeat, the walls closing in without the city views or luxury. The search funds dried up. I had no choice but to stop. Acceptance crept in slowly, like dawn after a storm, painful but inevitable. Michael was gone, and so was the woman I'd been. Now I had to rebuild from the ashes. Grandfather's death hit me harder than I expected. At his funeral in the family plot overlooking the Hudson River, I stood there in a simple black dress, my auburn hair tied back, feeling the weight of his final words. "Save the company, Becca. It's your legacy now." He was 85, his once imposing frame reduced to frailty, but his sharp gray eyes had pierced through me one last time. With him gone, I had no choice but to pull myself together. Thompson Jewelers was on the brink. Stocks had plummeted, and whispers of bankruptcy echoed in board meetings. I couldn't let his life's work crumble because of my mistakes. I threw myself into the business like never before. We held emergency strategy sessions in our sleek Manhattan headquarters, where I'd pace the conference room, my heels clicking on the marble floor. "We need to pivot," I told my team, a mix of young analysts with eager faces and veteran executives like Sarah, my CFO, with her bob haircut and no-nonsense glasses. "Launch affordable lines, make luxury accessible, target millennials with customizable pieces under $500." Sarah nodded skeptically at first. "Rebecca, are you sure? This could dilute the brand." But I insisted, drawing sketches on the whiteboard myself. We rebranded with a fresh campaign, Eternal Elegance for Every Moment. Sales rebounded 20% within 6 months, and by year's end, we'd stabilized at a $800 million valuation. It felt like a small victory, but every boardroom win reminded me of Michael's quiet support. He'd been the one suggesting subtle changes in our investor pitches years ago. At 36, I tried dating again, dipping into the New York scene. There was Alex, a charming lawyer with salt and pepper hair and a warm smile, who took me to rooftop bars overlooking the city lights. "You're incredible, Rebecca," he'd say over champagne, his hand brushing mine. But conversations always circled back to work, and in quiet moments, I'd compare him to Michael, his broad shoulders, that easy laugh echoing in my mind. "Why didn't it work out with your ex?" Alex asked one night at a cozy Italian restaurant. I hesitated, staring at my pasta. I messed up, betrayed his trust. He squeezed my hand sympathetically, but it wasn't enough. No one measured up to Michael's genuine kindness, his way of making me feel seen without the glamour. After a few months, I ended it, telling Alex, "I'm not ready, maybe someday." Sporadic dates followed, a financier here, an artist there, but they all faded, leaving me alone in my downsized apartment with regrets. Years blurred into a routine of board meetings and solo evenings. I adopted a golden retriever puppy named Buddy, his fluffy coat and playful brown eyes a comforting echo of Max. We'd walk Central Park at dawn, the leaves crunching underfoot, and I'd talk to him like he understood. "Michael would have loved you, boy." Travel helped too. Solo trips to Paris, where I'd wander the Seine, or Hawaii, revisiting beaches we'd once shared. But Michael's memory lingered everywhere. A stranger's blue eyes in a crowd, a familiar cologne wafting by. I wondered if he was at peace, maybe building homes in some quiet town, his hands calloused from real work, far from my chaotic world. By 40, I'd aged visibly. fine lines around my green eyes, a few more grays in my hair. But I'd rebuilt. Thompson Jewelers thrived, and I'd started a foundation for marriage counseling, channeling my guilt into good. Then, one rainy afternoon, a letter arrived in plain envelope, postmarked from Montana. My hands trembled as I recognized his neat handwriting. "I'm happy now. Don't look anymore. Take care, Michael." No address, no details, just closure. Tears streamed down my face as I sat on the couch, Buddy nuzzling my lap. "He's okay," I whispered to no one. It hurt, but it freed me. For the first time in years, I felt the weight lift, ready to move forward without the shadow of what I'd lost. "I'm so sorry for the pain I caused. I was blind to what truly mattered. Forever meant something real to me, even if I failed it. I hope you found happiness." No expectations of forgiveness, just the truth laid bare. In the end, whether I find him or not, peace settles over me like a long-awaited dawn. Reunion may elude us, but love, I've learned, endures in memory alone, timeless, imperfect, and profoundly human. It's the one jewel no empire can replicate.